One second. We do have one thing to bring up. Mr. Ashida. So before we get started, Mr. Ashida and Ms. Sako.
Good morning, members of the council. For the record, Lincoln Ashida Corporation Counsel, Deanna Sako, the Deputy Finance Director, is present. I am most grateful for the fact you are in such a festive mood this morning based upon what I'm going to ask you in a few minutes. Members of the council, we were informed this morning by the Department of Information Technology that they are humbly and respectfully requesting an amendment to your agenda today for the purpose of agendizing a resolution authorizing a multi-year lease for IT, which involves the expenditure of federal funds that are at risk of being lost unless an agreement can be reached or consummated by December 31st of this year. This is your last scheduled council meeting before the end of the calendar year. Absent the convening of a special council meeting, which obviously would be, I don't know if that was Deanna's plan B, but that would be the plan B in my mind. We're asking in lieu of that for the agenda to be amended today. Ms. Sako will go over the details of the specifics of what this involves, why a multi-year lease is necessary, and the progress of the procurement that has already occurred in this case. I wish to point out just two things from the council on my end, which I learned. Number one, this was not a result of any dereliction on the part of the Department of IT. It's my understanding that they just learned about at least the vendor portion yesterday. So it wasn't like anyone was dragging their feet, waiting till the end of the year. At least from what was reported to me, these were circumstances beyond that department's control. Secondly, and perhaps this is where I come in, the general standard for the amendment of an agenda under HRS Chapter 92 is number one, that it is a matter of not of reasonably major importance, number two, and does not affect a significant number of people. In this particular case, the council's role in this would just be a single facet of a larger approval process that must take place for multi-year leases and proper procurement to be followed. Finance director's certification of funds, certification that proper selection process was followed. It is a requirement in our laws that any time that there is an authorization for spending monies over multiple fiscal years of the county, that the council have an opportunity to look at it, weigh in, and obviously approve it. Also, what weighs in favor of the ability of the council to amend the agenda in this case is this is not an expenditure of county general funds or any of our county taxpayer funds. So I understand, and Ms. Sako can correct, that's correct, right? This is incoming federal funds. So it's not a matter of us looking at the taxpayers saying, whoops, our bad, we're going to slip this on the agenda, and and it has to do with the tax dollars that you paid. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Ms. Sako can correct me if I'm wrong, and I'm really flying shooting from the hip here, but was there a prior authority by the council granted to enter into the multi-year in this case?
There's no multi-year.
Okay,
there was
okay.
prior approval to enter into the grant agreement.
Okay, so the council has seen it before?
The grant.
The grant. Okay. So based on that criteria, that is our, respectfully, the request being made today. You are the gatekeepers of that. In terms of the determination of the twofold matter of not of reasonably major importance that does not affect a significant number of people, you are the final decision makers on that. So I'd be more than happy to answer any questions if anyone has them at this time, or defer them to Ms. Sako. That's why she's here.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Ashida. So to summarize then, from a legal standpoint, if we decided to amend the agenda, provided we make those following findings,
Correct.
that we would be on solid legal ground, in your opinion?
Well, I can never warrant that we would, that we're no problem. I can never, it's irresponsible of me to say that. But I think this is the kind of situation that HRS 92 contemplates, the ability of a board to amend an agenda I think if they look at the totality of the circumstances, why are you amending it? I think is a big question, and I think I've made the record on that.
Okay.
Number two, are there additional safeguards that ensure, had this been something that the council solely, it rises and falls on the council's approval, I think that's something they look at too. But as I pointed out, there are other safeguards in place in terms of, number one, Ms. Sako has already pointed out this council has seen the grant. Number two, the finance director's certification as to funds and so forth. So there are other safeguards in place.
Okay, thank you. And then the other option, of course, is to convene another meeting before December 31st, right? That's planned, another option.
That
Not preferable.
conceivably, if this goes down today.
Okay.
Yes.
Ms. Sako, did you want to further elaborate as far as the details?
No, I think, just in the best interest of the county, we're just really trying to maintain that federal funding due to the size.
Okay, council members' questions, Ms. Ford?
Okay, I'm going to try not to get into the details of what we're putting on the agenda because I think that would not be appropriate. But my understanding is what you're saying. I understand why we need to put it on the agenda, and I would request that we not have a special meeting. I'd rather see this done today than do a special meeting in the holiday season. People are flying out all over the place, so. But if I understood you correctly, this is incoming money from the federal government. Ms. Crawford has certified there's been an expenditure already based on this.
No, we would like to have the money encumbered by December 31st. We weren't
Got it.
trying to spend it.
Got
sorry.
it, okay,
Yeah.
now I understand, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Ford. Any other questions from the council members? Hearing or seeing none. So, Mr. Ashida, will you work with the clerk's office to amend the agenda?
I will, and on behalf of Department of Information Technology and my friend Ms. Sako, thank you very much.
Oh, excuse me, so do we need to have a vote?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
and I believe it's a 2/3 vote, sir.
Okay, so the motion would be to amend the agenda. Mr. Ashida, how do you want it described? Do you have the paperwork in front of you?
I don't know if a resolution number has been fixed yet,
No, we
Deanna.
have not
but-
stopped by the clerk's office, but we do have a title. If that.
That title is good.
If maybe I could hand this to your clerk and he can read that into the record.
Okay. You can assign the number.
He reads it in, agendized it,
Mr. Clerk.
Resolution authorizing the payment of funds of a later fiscal year and of more than one fiscal year for a multi-year agreement for the software and licensing for the Active Directory Exchange email upgrade project for the Department of Information Technology.
Okay, council members, may I please have a motion to amend the agenda to add the item just read in by the clerk?
So moved. Second.
Okay, motion by Ms. Ford, seconded by Ms. Eoff. Any discussion on the motion to amend the agenda as indicated? No discussion. Okay, roll call, Mr. Clerk.
Ms. Eoff,
Aye.
Ms. Ford,
Aye.
Mr. Ligon,
Aye.
Mr. Kanuha,
Aye.
Mr. Kern,
Aye.
Mr. Nishi,
Aye.
Ms. Poindexter,
Aye.
Ms. Willie,
Aye.
Chair Yoshimoto.
Aye.
Chair Yoshimoto, you have 9 ayes.
Okay, so motion passes. The the agenda is appropriately amended. Mr. Ashida, anything else?
No, council members, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So, council members, we'll take up that matter as soon as it gets a resolution number, and we'll inform everyone appropriately. Okay, so now let's start with. Okay, council members, we're going to call the meeting back to order. Okay, Mr. Clerk, let us take resolution 256-13.
Resolution 256-13, authorizing the payment of funds of a latter fiscal year and of more than one fiscal year for a multi-year agreement for the software and licensing for the Active Directory Exchange email upgrade project for the Department of Information Technology.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. May I have a motion to approve resolution 256? Ms. Poindexter, why don't you do the motion?
Motion to approve resolution 256-13.
Seconded by Mr. Kern. Okay, at the outset, let's call up Ms. Sako, Deanna Sako from Finance. And Deanna, why don't you open by just providing your comments?
Deanna Sako, Deputy Director of Finance. Thank you very much for adding this to the agenda today. I wanted to clarify, the money we're trying to save that we're in jeopardy of losing is the current grant of $423,000. And so, but the agreement actually encumbers 2 future years. And this morning I said, there's no county funds, and that is our expectation. But Mr. Jacobs clarified for me that we have applied for federal funding for the future 2 years. We don't actually have the letter in hand saying we will get it. So, but the money is actually coming through civil defense. They have been working with us with their federal grant money to improve the entire county's network and infrastructure. They, both our civil defense and state civil defense feels that's a significant and very important to have us be up to speed and current with our technology. So we do believe that will be forthcoming in the future years, but I cannot guarantee that. There's always the possibility we won't get it. So I just wanted to clarify that up front. This is actually to help us get current with our technology. As you'll recall, the council approved, I think $300,000 in this year's budget to buy new PCs because many of our computers are still X-key and Microsoft's no longer supporting that. Our current system cannot handle the new computers until we do this piece that the federal grant money is helping us with. So we need to complete this before we can go ahead and buy those new PCs, which we know are extremely important to everyone countywide. So that's kind of the basic pieces of it. We're just trying to make everything technical with the 3-year agreement that the vendor came back with. So and we have in here not to exceed $180,000 per year. I believe it's actually a little bit lower, but I did not see actually in years 2 and 3 to make sure it was the same as the first year, but I believe it's right at $169,000 per year.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Sako. Council members, any discussion? Ms. Ford.
Thank you. I just need to get some more information. Now, in here, your third whereas, it says this email system is the backbone of the network infrastructure and electronic communication system. Is this hardware or software that we are getting?
This particular multi-year agreement is for software.
Okay.
However, part of the project is for hardware. And there's a small piece of county money in that portion of it. But this is $169,000. The remainder of the $423,000 is for hardware to help upgrade our system, so this will all function properly.
Okay, so tell me about the hardware. Maybe Dawn should come
Don
up and-
maybe needs to explain the hardware part.
I want to hear about the hardware, and specifically, when you talk about hardware, the fact that this is coming through civil defense is what's triggering my questions. Because civil defense, one of the projects that kind of got ongoing in Public Works too is to harden our facilities and to make sure that we don't get a terrorism type situation. So please tell me a little bit about this equipment and comment whether or not it is going to help us harden our network. I know that's kind of a funny way to say that.
No, that's actually a correct term.
Okay, all right. To protect us.
Yeah, exactly what we're doing with the equipment.
Don,
That's not close enough.
real close. Raise the mic, say your name for the record, and then go ahead.
It's first time testifying. Don Jacobs, I'm the Director of Information Technology. The equipment that we're looking to purchase will replace our existing exchange server system as well as upgrade our network security to the most current security software that we can do for logons and managing security. One of the things that the project is going to do for us is it's going to give us a bit of a disaster recovery technology and capability that we do not have at this point. There will be a disaster recovery version of the email server at the West Hawaii Civic Center server room. The primary operational server will live here in Hilo. But in the event that we have an issue and we cannot access the Hilo system, we will have the exchange server and the security backup system in West Hawaii to keep continuity on the network.
Okay, that's exactly what I wanted to hear. So I appreciate you giving that explanation. I have no problem with this particular resolution to do this, but I really wanted the public to know that this is just not software that we wanna have. This is software and hardware that we must have to protect the county system and our records. So thank you very much.
Okay, any other discussion, council members? Hearing none. Okay, thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes unanimously. Resolution 256-13 is approved. Okay, let's see, Mr. Clerk, next item.